Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skowalski of Remax Lakes. Welcome to the show.
Here we are, morning. Had to get that last cup of coffee.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, you know what? The mornings are a little bit chillier now.
Brisk. We'll take it.
They are. So I just love my morning coffee even more.
Yeah.
In my Remax Lakes.
Oh man, that thing is going.
I know.
I don't know if I have any more yet.
But I use them.
I know.
I mean,
good.
I use it daily. So
Yeah.
we're
gonna have to get you something different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look how nice and shiny.
Yeah, yours
I
is
think I was
new.
the last one out of the box.
Okay.
So I don't know if I got any left. See what we can do about that.
All right, sounds good. Hey, I know you got a lot of stuff that you want to talk about here today.
We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I guess we'll chat.
Okay. We
We'll
can do
chat.
that.
So, a lot of folks are still, and we talked about it before, as far as, I'm going to wait till the market crashes before I decide to go out and buy. And there are a lot of excuses for that or reasons behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But, the fact that interest rates were higher supported some of what that was. Why would I pay at 7% when I'm waiting for 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
3 isn't going to happen.
Right.
But they've settled around 6.5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's interest rates have been fairly consistent. The anticipation is there's going to be a rate cut this month.
Yeah, they've been talking about that a lot here.
They've been talking
lately
about it, but there's so many things that go into that. The jobs report, inflation in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't help that last month they totally revised the prior job reports
Right.
by 200 and some
I know.
thousand.
Yeah, saw that.
Do they know what they're doing? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's historical data.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you ask the regular Joe,
Mm-hmm.
when milk is a lot more expensive than it was, gas is a lot more expensive than it was, insurance is more expensive, inflation's still here.
Everything. Yeah.
People are hurting when
Yeah.
it comes to the prices for buying goods and services.
Mm-hmm.
So what does interest rates have to do with that? Well, companies that are providing those services have to borrow to do it, so they raise their prices. I mean, prices on everything has gone up as a result.
Yeah.
Now, is there going to be a direct correlation in prices when they cut the rates? Probably not,
Mm-hmm.
because once we're used to paying what we're used to paying,
Right.
they're not going to go backwards. But you've seen the value meals come back.
Yeah, I know.
The $5 McDonald's meal, the $5 Burger King.
I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So, the reality is the housing market is not going to crash, just
Mm-hmm.
like those prices are not going to crash just because
Mm-hmm.
there's an interest rate adjustment. And, some people go back to, comparing it to 2008,
You
right?
can't.
So we really can't. And why did prices crash then? Well, we had 10 and a half months worth of inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And today,
We don't.
we have 4 months
Okay.
worth of inventory
Yeah.
in general. Again, these are national numbers. Newly built homes, there was 1.6 million built in 2008. There's only 1 million built now. So
Okay.
there's more demand, fewer houses. What's that going to do to prices, right? It's the standard,
Yeah, it's supply and demand,
economic
yeah.
thing, supply demand.
Yep.
Foreclosures. Then there was 1.7 million foreclosures,
Wow.
and now we're about 300,000.
Yeah.
So the fact is, housing prices are not going to tank. They're not going to drop dramatically. Is the rate of appreciation slowing? Yes. Are home prices beginning to flatten? I hate to say flatten, they're not going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, you on the show multiple times you've said, man, I've been doing this almost 20 years. Sold houses for 70,000, they're now 200,000.
Yeah.
Are they going back to 70? No.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to go from 200 to 198? Probably.
Okay.
Probably, in order to get them sold. Why is that? Because there's still pretty good demand, but there's more inventory.
Mm-hmm.
There's more homes on the market that are available for sale. So the supply of homes for sale is beginning to improve. So, and I've got a chart, a graph I've pulled up, and this is between 2017 and 2019, this comparison.
Okay.
But we're looking at year over year. We're looking at last year to this year. There's 36, almost 37% more homes available for sale this year than there were last year.
Wow.
About 37% more available this year than there were last
I mean,
year.
that's a lot. That's significant.
That's significant. However, we are still down almost 30% compared to 2019.
Wow.
So we're how many years later?
Sure. Right.
Right.
5 years.
And
Yeah.
we don't have inventory or homes available for sale at the same level as we did 5 years ago. There's more
Mhm.
people out there looking, but still less inventory available.
Yeah.
What's that going to do to prices?
And-
Prices are going to stay up.
Yeah.
They are not going to drop off of the face of the earth and go back to 2008 levels. It's just not going to happen.
Mhm.
Now that's all, unless there's some significant event. We could have another economic event like we did in 2008 and 2009, a market crash, or this, that, or the other thing that could lead to those changes. But given the indicators,
It's not.
I don't think it's going to happen. I
But-
don't think we're going to drop off.
A lot of the problem back in 2008, 2009 was that banks were actually loaning out like 125% value of the property.
You're
and,
right.
And they're
You're
not
right.
doing that anymore.
They're not. So that was one really positive thing that came out of all that turmoil
Mhm.
was the fact the regulations tightened up on banks.
Yeah.
Now I'm not a big fan of regulations. I'm not a big fan
Right.
of the government jumping in and doing that.
Right, right.
But that's something that really needed to be done because there were people getting loans that really should not have been getting loans.
Right, and they're turned upside down
Yeah.
as soon as the market crashed. Everybody, all these people were turned upside down.
They were upside down,
and so it was. Well, I mean, I can't say each individual situation is specific to
Correct,
that, but
correct.
a lot of people felt like they should just walk away, and we're not in that.
We're not in that mode, and
Yeah.
so we're not going to see prices doing exactly that. So, and I guess after the break, we can continue this discussion.
All right, very good. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes, and we've been talking about pricing
Yeah.
homes, and a lot of people have said, I want to wait till the market crashes like 2008, 2009,
Right.
then I'm going to get a deal. Well, we have established that is not going to happen.
We have established that.
Yes.
We have established that,
Right.
so everyone knows
Yeah,
that's
it's
not,
not
going to
happen. No, it's not going to happen. So where are we at when it comes to pricing?
So, sellers are worried about obviously getting the most they possibly can.
Mhm.
Buyers want to buy at the lowest possible price,
Right.
which is why you have people waiting to buy. I'm going to wait and buy. But, sellers, you still have to be realistic. You still have to price it right. If you don't, ultimately you're going to have to reduce your price in order to get it sold. Now,
Mhm.
from a buyer's standpoint, more inventory is a good thing. From a seller's standpoint, it's not so much a good thing.
Yeah.
So, and why is that? Because buyers have more choices. I mean, there was a time, and that's why inventory is so important. That's why we're talking about it, is the fact that if you only had one to choose from, and there's 10 buyers,
Right.
prices are going to go up. There's going to be a bidding war and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But if you've got 10 available and 10 buyers, well, those 10 buyers may not like, isn't a one for one. Oh, there's 10 available. Well, the buyers will get together and we'll each buy one and the inventory's gone.
Right.
It's
No.
not necessarily the case. You're competing against other listings.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you've priced it correctly. And if you don't, ultimately you're going to need to reduce your price. So got another graph that just talks about the number of price reductions that are happening. So they are beginning to increase. I think a couple weeks ago we did local data. This is national data. But in January, the number of price reductions was 182,000 nationwide.
Mhm.
In July, it was 326,000. Now, that number seems huge when we've got a market that we only sell a couple of thousand houses a year.
Right.
But when you expand that, and our local data match this data,
Mhm.
is that people are pricing higher for whatever reason, and then they have to reduce in order to get buyers interested.
Well, you
in
go
buying their
back a
home.
year ago or so, 2 years ago, and it just seems like you could put whatever number you wanted to on it, and it would sell
Yeah.
because of supply and demand.
Because of supply and demand. There
But
was
now-
so much demand, no supply. Buyers were forced, if they needed to move, they were buying it,
Mhm.
whatever. So we've seen a large number of transactions fall apart due to inspections. Remember back in the COVID era?
Yeah.
People were waiving inspection shoot, they were buying them sight unseen.
Yeah.
Right? They were just
Yeah.
buying them sight unseen. They were
Happened a
overpaying. They
lot.
were doing appraisal waivers. They were doing appraisal shortages where I'll pay the difference if it doesn't appraise.
Mhm.
All those days are gone, sellers.
Mhm.
You're not seeing that. You still could get situations with multiple offers, excuse me, but the fact is they're in pockets. It's not every transaction.
Okay.
So from a seller standpoint, just because I need to get this much out of selling my house, not necessarily going to be the case. The market will support what the market will support. Just because you need it or want it doesn't mean the buyers are going to be willing to pay for it. So you need to price realistically. That's an important piece. And for buyers, you know, we've still got folks that are sitting out there going, well, I have to have 20% down in order to buy. That is definitely not the case. There are loan programs out there. There are still 100% financing loan programs. Now, it's not the best place to be. Because, you know, there's always strings attached to any of these.
Right.
Hey, we'll pay your closing costs. We'll do this. We'll do that. Somebody's paying it. I don't know where it's coming from, but somebody's paying it. But there are 100% financing programs, the USDA program, VA financing, 100% financing. There is FHA financing, which is 3.5% down payment, not 20% down. So the message I want to get out to buyers is you do not have to have saved 20% in order to buy. Do you have to have reasonable credit? Yes, you do. If you don't have reasonable credit, that's where FHA buyers come in. Because there are some lenders that can go down to a 620 credit score. Now, I'm not saying that's, hey, let's lower my credit score so I can get an FHA loan. I'm not saying that at all. But you can, if your credit is less than perfect, still get financing. Now, we're not in the 2008 where they're doing crazy stuff. There's a lot more documentation, a lot more requirements. I mean, you have to justify and certify and sign off on so many different things. But the reality is, if you want to purchase a home and you don't have 20% to put down, you can still purchase a home. Talk to a local loan officer. You know, I'm not a fan of the internet. Jump on there, get 7 loans in 7 minutes. Those people will hound you to death.
They do, yep.
But
I made that mistake one time.
Oh, man.
Out of curiosity, I'd send my information in. Boom, I had 20, 30 phone calls within
emails, they don't leave you alone. Talk to a local loan officer with a local, whether it's your local bank, you know, we've got plenty of local banks in the area, or a local mortgage broker, somebody you can walk into the office and talk to, I would suggest. Or would come to you and meet you.
So bottom line, if you're selling, it's still a good time to sell. If you're buying, it's still a good time to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Depends on your why. It all comes back to your why.
Absolutely. All right. And if you want to continue this conversation with Mark, make sure you reach out. Mark, your contact info.
Sure. Website, skabowskiteam.com. Phone numbers, 574-527-0660. Can always email me, mark@skabowskiteam.com. Send some questions in. We'll talk about them on another show.
Sure. All right. That sounds good. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.